I'm Jared Damon, a member of the Strategic Management Society Media Innovations team. And I'm very pleased to be speaking with Heather Berry, Aseem Kaul, and Narae Lee about their article entitled Follow the Smoke, the Pollution Haven Effect on Global Sourcing. And this is an article which has recently been accepted for publication in the Strategic Management Journal. So Narae, what is the key message of your article?
So the key message of our paper is that firms can take advantage of weak environmental standards in foreign countries by increasing their sourcing from those countries. And in our paper, we find that this pattern holds for both owned and non-related third-party sourcing.
Great. And as a team, how did you become interested in the question and why is it important?
Thanks, Jared. So I think it comes from our different backgrounds. So Heather and I have been interested in thinking about global sourcing and this choice between offshore integration, meaning sourcing from your own plants abroad, and offshore outsourcing, meaning sourcing from third parties abroad for a while. And then when Narae joined the PhD program in Minnesota, she was already interested in thinking about environmental sustainability, these kind of international agreements like the Kyoto Protocol, et cetera. And so it seemed like a natural fit to think about how do those two things kind of connect together. And when we started to look at that, one of the things that stood out for us was that there's a lot of work on the so-called pollution haven effect, the idea that firms will take advantage of weak environmental regulation abroad. But much of it thinks about FDI, foreign direct investment, so really thinks about where do you locate your own production. And from a sourcing perspective, that doesn't really make a lot of sense because if you don't need to build your own plant to source from somewhere. If you're a multinational corporation, a lot of your sourcing comes through offshore outsourcing. And particularly if you're trying to take advantage of pollution, et cetera, elsewhere, you might want to do that through outsourcing rather than getting it through your own, building your own plant. Moreover, you don't need to be a multinational to source from a country with weak environmental standards. Even domestic firms could get inputs from countries that have weak environmental regulation without having any operations outside the United States. And so we felt like that was a really important missing piece in the existing literature that we decided to pursue.
Great, that's really great background on the study. And if we get into some of the details of your study, what are the key analyses that you ran and what did you find?
So we use publicly available data from the US Census and Environmental Performance Index to analyze how a change in foreign countries' environmental standards affect global sourcing decisions by US manufacturing companies from that foreign country. And our analysis produces three sets of results. So first, we find that when a country increases its environmental standards, sourcing from that country decreases, meaning that this country becomes less attractive sourcing locations, other things being equal. And second, we find that this decrease is derived by both owned and non-related third-party sourcing, meaning that the US companies that do not have their own operations abroad can still indirectly contribute to the pollution haven effect. And third, we also find that it is not only the firms in heavy polluting industries that can take advantage of weak environmental standards. So while these companies in heavy polluting industries tend to locate their operations in pollution haven countries, we find no difference between high and low polluting industries when it comes to sourcing from the third-party operators. And we also find that firms in tech-intensive industries may find it harder to change their own location choices in response to changing environmental standards. So I would say that these are three main summaries of our main findings.
Great. And are there some key takeaways from the article or perhaps things that the readers might find surprising or interesting?
Yeah, so thank you. I can take those questions. So one of the interesting things in our paper, I think, is the extensive database that we use. So the US Census Bureau data really covers all imports that come into the US. If you look at the last 5 years, of Census Bureau data, you can see an increase in the unrelated kind of indirect imports that are coming into the US. And starting in 2018, really that indirect non-related party trade becomes higher than the owned related party trade. So there's a substantial portion of global sourcing that's coming from this indirect part that we analyze in this paper. Second, one of the things that I think is interesting about our paper is there really is no problem that's more global than climate change. Our paper, our results that firms change their sourcing away from countries in response to increasing environmental standards, really suggests or reinforces that one country cannot tackle pollution or decarbonization policies on their own. If firms are just going to generate emissions elsewhere, that's not going to be a lasting kind of long-term solution. So I think our paper really speaks to and reinforces the necessity for multilateral global approaches to trying to combat emissions and to deal with climate change.
Great. Well, congratulations on your very interesting research, and thank you for taking the time today to share some thoughts about the article. There's also a great summary of the article written on the SMS blog, which can be found via the SMS website, which is at strategicmanagement.net. So thank you all and goodbye.